Hello, thank you for joining me. In this video, I'd like to show you how to put together a room schedule and its complementary key schedule, which would go with the room schedule. And key schedule is going to be called the room style schedule, which is the default name that Revit uses. Now, a room schedule allows you to identify these rooms on a plan. And what it does is it creates a schedule, kind of like an Excel spreadsheet in a way. It's got the room name and number and other qualifications associated with that room, so that the people, subcontractors coming in doing work on that room can get information off that list, like what the room name is, how much area there is in the walls, the floor, the perimeter, stuff like that. You can put all that information in there in a schedule. It's easy to pick off, and not as easy to pick it off on the plan itself, but it might be a lot easier to pick that information up off of the schedule itself. So let's go ahead and get started. What we have is our floor plan here, and it shows you some of the rooms that we have. We have a couple of redundant rooms in here, and it'll become apparent once we put our schedule together what we can do with those rooms. But let's go ahead and start with our schedule. The way you get there is you go to the View tab. It is an annotation, but it's sitting on the View tab, and you want to go to the Schedule button, and you want to pull this down. Pick the Schedule Quantities. Scroll down to Room. And you have a couple different choices. At first, we're just going to do a regular old room schedule instead of schedule keys. And one thing to keep in mind is you want everything on your plans to be in capital letters. Everything's going to be capitalized. I have seen very few exceptions to this, and it makes your plans look a lot neater. And more than anything else, it's a requirement in the class, and you will get marked down if you don't do it. So let's go ahead and do this right now. Let's go ahead and rename that and just make it put capital letters in there. So it's going to be room schedule. Oh man, I can't spell today, nor can I type. And go to OK. The first thing it does is it puts you on a Field tab. We're going to go through each one of these tabs as we create this and show you the different options that are available. What this does is it sets up parameters for our schedule and how it's going to look. Again, it kind of looks like an Excel spreadsheet, but what it really is a database. More like Access rather than Excel, but you're probably more familiar with Excel than Access, as I am too, by the way. But it is a database, and so the information that we already have in our project so far, the floors that have already been created here, are going to come up in this database, and it gives us a good visual representation of the database that exists here in Revit that we could use for parametric needs in our project. Okay, enough said. Oh, by the way, this starts on page 460 in our book. If you need to refer to that, you're welcome to do that. I know some of you haven't broken your book open yet. You'll have to bring it to class and take the cellophane off of it, but it's a good idea to reference that because it's got a little bit more information what I'm going to cover right here if you want to learn more. Okay, enough. Fields. We're just going to add these in order as we come across them. Go into Area, Base Finish, not Base Offset, but Ceiling Finish, Department. This will be good for your commercial projects. You want to have a department, whether it's customer or production oriented or miscellaneous. You might want to have a department for that. Floor Finish, we're going to add name and number. Yes, we're going to add those too. Occupancy, that might be good for your commercial project. We're not going to add it here, but you're welcome to do that. We are going to add perimeter. That's something that perhaps a base finish person coming in will want to know how much perimeter in regard to feet there is there. And finally, wall finish. Now we're going to take these and kind of move them around a little bit. We're going to take an area, we're going to move that down. The most obvious thing is the number. We're going to move that up. Oop. We're actually going to move the name up to the very top, so it's going to be name, number. Now we're going to start at the very beginning, at the bottom. We're going to do floor finish, wall finish, base finish, ceiling finish. Well, let's put department at the very end. Okay, tendency is to go to OK here, but let's go through some of these tabs first and click on some of these tabs and see what we need to do. Filter allows you to filter out some information, whether you want some information to appear or not to appear. We're not going to do anything here right now. Sorting and grouping. We want to sort everything by number. We're going to sort everything by number. So we're going to number these things in consecutive order. Come into the entryway. That'll be room number 1. Maybe into the living room or the stair or the hallway for room number 2. But we'll kind of play with that here in just a little bit. Formatting. We're going to stick with a lot of the default settings here, but in regard to number, we are going to make anything that has a number to it It's a very short amount of characters involved with it. Our numbers are only up to 2 digits, so we're going to make that centered. So let's start at the top. Heading is going to be number. While we have an opportunity, let's go ahead and make that capitalized. Heading orientation, horizontal, we're going to stick with that, but alignment, we're going to make that center. And hidden field, we're not going to hide that field, but we are going to hide the room style schedule that we're going to incorporate into our room schedule here in just a minute, and we'll talk about that in just a minute. Appearance, a lot of different options here. The only option that's missing in here is capital letters, so we're going to have to do that manually until there might be a better way of doing that. But right now we're just going to stick with the default settings just to see what it looks like. But you have the ability to adjust your line sizes in here, just like you can in Excel. Show titles, show headers. Yes, we want to do that. One thing we do want to uncheck, though, is blank row before data. What that does, for some reason, it takes the header of the table and separates it from the body of the table. We want to have those connected. And then everything else we're going to stick with the default settings. We might, just because our default setting for text, like in dimensions, are 3/32 of an inch. 1/8 of an inch is a little bit bigger than that. We might want to revert back to that, but for right now we're just going to stick with the default settings. Now we're going to go to OK. Pardon me. So here's our room schedule. We have a lot of information to fill. We're going to save that for the next video, but let's say we want to change some of these things. Remember our formatting or our appearance that we had last? Let's go and edit that and show you what it looks like if you do a blank row before data. And you notice that it does set that up. It does put a blank in there, which I don't really find appealing, so we're going to take that and reverse that. If you need to, go back and edit any of the fields, any of the information that we just went through in regard to our schedules, not just room schedules, but any schedules. It's always going to be over here in our properties palette. Okay, enough said for this video. Join me for the next one, please.